were cold, they bit my skin. Fights I lost, but never gave in. Steel bar slam, my lullaby. A broken man who won't say die. Can't stop, won't stop, I'm alive. Through the dark I'll survive. Bruised but standing scars don't lie. Can't stop, won't stop till I fly. A life of crime to carve my face.
Corcoran State Prison. This is CSP COR. CSP COR is Corcoran State Prison. Corcoran is a prison between Bakersfield and Fresno. It's in the middle of the desert, farming community. I'm not sure. I think they growing cotton all around the prison. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I spent some years there, and it wasn't a happy, fun time. Being white and a member of the Crips, made things really difficult for me in prison. And when I got to Corcoran, it was I didn't know what to expect. I was scared, but I wasn't gonna let nobody see it. I feared for my life. Literally, I feared for my life. I thought that, that the whites would kill me, But every time I got into it, I got into fights, I got stabbed, I survived. And then, they took me back to classification. They put me in the hole, and now in the hole, you can't get to me. So I feel safe, I'm locked in my cell. The only one I got to worry about my cellies. So, I'm cool. Put me up in the cell with anybody. But, it's different when you out on the yard with groups, and, those groups can get, get large, and, it's only so many, numbers that you can handle. And I know, speaking from experience, been in a lot of altercations, and I survived, and I'm still here to tell the story. I'm not bragging. I'm not, trying to toot my horn. Oh, look at me, I'm a tough guy. Nah, I'm not. I'm not. I'm old, beat up, old man, Grandpa Joey. But that's it. You still got to make it out here, and ain't no free rides, and ain't no, when you get out of prison, there's no assistance. There's no help. I try and volunteer with All of Us or None. A friend of mine is the chairman of the organization, but I also, I try and, help out whenever I can with a couple other, organizations. I'm just trying to, focus on positivity, doing, doing something better for the community. Because that's the thing, that I'm still a part of that big ass C. That's community, and I'm a part of my community. Are you a part of yours? That's the thing. You got to be an active part. You got to know the people around you. You got to know, your environment, and be ready for whatever, because you never know, when it's going to be, crunch time, and, you got to, do what you got to do to survive. And that's what it's all about, is survival. I'm a survivor. Can't stop, won't stop. I ain't no give up in me, ain't no quit in me, ain't no stop in me. I'ma keep going. And if you get in my way, then I'm going through, I'm going over, I'm going around. So, it's it's weird, because all the time I spent in prison, I wasn't living, I was just surviving. That's it. I was just surviving. In prison, I got stabbed 13 times. I got in more fights than I can remember. Like I said, I got into it with the correctional officers, and that was the worst beating I ever took, and that was in Corcoran. And the police beat the brakes off your boy. Look, I'll be good. I'm sorry. They didn't care, though. And it that was in the shoe. When I got out the shoe, I went to the yard, and, one of the shoe cops was working overtime, and came to my yard, seen me, and started the issue, And the homies was like, man, if that fool, try something again, you gonna stab his ass. And I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to stab the police. You know what I mean? I don't want to stab the police. They just beat the shit out. When I was in the shoe, I literally, I ain't never got beat like that before in my life. The police beat me. Beat me up pretty bad. But, that was the thing, they cut me loose early from my shoe. And, you know what I'm saying, told me, you know what I'm saying, if I have any more problems, you know what I'm saying, you know, that they gonna come pay me another visit. Nah. We don't need none of that. I'm good. I'm sorry. I'll be good. I ain't fucking with the police. And that was because I got a one-on-one with a correctional officer. You know, he came into my cell and we got down. And while we was getting down, he tried grabbing me. You know what I'm saying? You know, that was a mistake because, you know, I know how to use the cell. So I'm bouncing him off the lockers, bouncing him off the bunk, making him touch everything up in the cell. But then, you know what I'm saying? You know, he let me slip up and get him in a choke in a sleeper. And once I locked it in and I started stretching him, he tapped. The pig tapped. So, you know what I'm saying? You know, I don't want to kill the police, so I let him go. You know, like I say, I'm a first termer, you know, me young and didn't know nothing. I let him go. I'm thinking it's over with. You know, he gets up and leaves about the cell, and that was it. You know what I mean? You know, but then this was in the afternoon. Excuse me. This was in the afternoon. It was about 2, 3 in the morning. I don't know what time because I don't have a watch. But I'm in my cell, and all of a sudden I'm in the shoe. So anybody knows that door don't open up until you go over there, stick your hands out, let them put cuffs on you. It's like 2, 3 in the morning. I'm in there asleep, and all of a sudden my door starts opening. Now, this is some, you know what I'm saying, you know, you jump up, you know what I'm saying, you know, ready to fight for your life because you don't know what's coming. And it's correctional officers with a shield, and they just rushed me all the way to the back of the cell with the shield and ran over me, and then they stretched me out. I had cops, one cop holding my right arm, one cop holding my left arm, one on one leg, one on the other leg. Now, I don't know how many of them was beating me, but I'm talking about from my shoulders to my feet, these cops beat me. And I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying, I was pissing blood for 2 weeks. Like I said, I ain't never been beat like that before in my life. You know what I'm saying? You know, I had enough that day. And I done had a lot of fights. You know what I'm saying? I grew up fighting. I've been, you know what I'm saying? You know, when I was 13, I knocked my dad out. And, you know what I'm saying? You know, I was the only white boy in the hood, you know, and the homies didn't want me. And, you know what I'm saying? You know, they was trying to run me off the block many times. You know what I'm saying? Many people, you know what I'm saying? There's people that have told me about other people that, you know what I'm saying, was telling them, you know what I'm saying, you know, man, get that motherfucker up out of here. And I'm still here, standing tall through it all. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the share. Thanks for watching. You know, if you like what you heard, I got a bunch of other videos. Go check them out. And share the video. Even if you share it to me, it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? It helps the channel algorithm to recognize me. Thanks for watching.